Almost. Come on. You're going down. Here we go. Yeah. Haha. You lose, Judge. Who's next?
Me!
Ow. Why?
I don't know, I just got bored, so I felt like gaffling your thick head. I'm surprised you haven't gotten used to it by now.
Thick head? But Judge, if you put it that way, them's fighting words. Ow! Okay, I'm done. Well, now we're really jumping to the past in this video. Today we're covering one of the most well-known fanfics in the fandom, Past Sins by Penstroke, with tons of fan art, fan comics, and side stories, and over 10,000 upvotes on FanFiction. It seems like a real winner of a tale. However, does the story still hold up? Did it ever? Is it actually worthy of its legendary status? Let's dig in. Oh, and by the way, spoilers. For those who don't know the story, it centers around a cult known as the Children of Nightmare, hell-bent on resurrecting Nightmare Moon. The ritual was unsuccessful to a degree as Nightmare Moon was brought back, but as a filly who's taken into the care of Twilight under the name of Nyx. Eventually, the cult finds her, completes the ritual, and Queen Nightmare Moon reigns once again, bringing eternal night and banishing the royal sister to their respective solar entities. The first thing I'll say is the author greatly captured all the established characters' personalities from the main seg, CMC, royal sisters, and beyond. I love the relationship between Nyx and Twilight. It's a sweet mother-daughter bond where even in their short time together, you feel the devotion she has to take care of this alicorn filly, yet rightfully is always wary of her true identity, which adds a great dynamic of inner struggle for Twilight, wondering what's better, keeping Nyx alive and keep her safe, or let her be more free and risk her daughter being taken away by some pony. Great inner conflict, but the story still allows for the usual comical entertainment of over-anxiety Twilight, which is always fun. The CMC play a rather large role in Nyx and Nightmare Moon's development, as they were not only some of the few children willing to interact with the stark black filly, but they helped her when being bullied by Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, and inducting her into their group, being some of the first friends she's ever had. And you especially see this devotion and loyalty the three face later when infiltrating Nightmare Moon's castle. They were willing to risk imprisonment or worse, death, attempting to bring back their lost crusader. As for Celestia, who isn't in the story a lot, still leaves an impact as the conversations she has with her sister and Twilight are deep and meaningful. Celestia is conflicted with what to do about Nyx, take her away and lose Twilight's admiration forever, or risk Equestria once again falling into eternal darkness, and all the while she's still haunted by the memories of her sister's banishment, not wanting to go through it again. And it makes for some really engaging dialogue as she is counseled by her sister. Past Sins, for the most part, has relatively good pacing, giving adequate time following Nyx from full to her takeover and inner turmoil of deciding who she is. And while the dialogue for the most part is engaging, the only aspect that kind of bothered me is when the characters relay exposition or information that happened not too long ago. Now don't get me wrong, it's a common practice in literature for characters to be kept in the loop, but sometimes it feels like half a conversation or more is repeated, rather than writing a line that says something like, "And so Twilight relayed the recent night's events to her friends," or something like that. Not a story killer, but a recurring aspect nonetheless. Perfect example, take a shot every time Twilight says, "Could Nightmare Moon be Nyx?" By the second chapter, you'll probably be dead of alcohol poisoning. Now, for a 150,000 plus word story, you need an interesting protagonist that the audience can connect and empathize with, especially when they're the villainous Nightmare Moon. But before we get to her, let's discuss the leader of the cult and the main antagonist, Spell Nexus. Now, for the majority of the story, this guy was actually a menacing villain. He's a powerful unicorn who once studied under Celestia, a great strategist, and is intimidating as all hell against his foes, willing to kill off any opponent that he sees as even a minor threat. I especially love how instead of making him this big, over-the-top, evil incarnate creation, he just looked like any pony else, which just added to his ominous nature, being able to blend in, manipulate, and lie to every pony. Sadly, however, the author dropped the ball big time and basically ruined his character. Now, it was telegraphed about the halfway point that Spell Nexus's research into the original Nightmare Moon's remains is what led to him becoming an evil cultist. I figured the transition from wise teacher of Celestia's school to evil mastermind would yield some great revelation, like in realizing that Celestia's faults were greater compared to Nightmare Moon, and she was the more stronger ruler, thus wanting to bring in a new semblance of order. Or I would have simply bought him simply as some obsessed fanatic infatuated with Nightmare Moon. But no, it was all the equivalent of a magical parasite from the lingering Nightmare Princess's remains that manipulated and controlled everything Spell Nexus did. Thus the whole time we're witness to some random mind-controlled drone, and therefore he's absolved of all his evil actions since they weren't of his own accord. This was just so disappointing. I have no idea what the author was thinking, diminishing his impact like that. Though that's nothing compared to the biggest problem in this story, and it is a legit one, that being this sweet, innocent filly Nyx. Oh yes, she's oh so cute and adorable, but other than that, she is a completely bland, boring, wet blanket. Other than one instance of her disobeying Twilight to attend the play, the stark black alicorn filly just blends in with the scenery, never really leaving an impression on me. I'm not saying you needed to have her become hyper-aggressive and time starting fights with Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon to make her interesting, but some fault to her character other than just, oh, I feel sorry that poor filly has Nightmare Moon's memories. That's simply a gateway to her troubled personality and should not be the only focus of her character, leaving her kind of one-dimensional. So yeah, Nyx is kind of forgettable. Her time as Nightmare Moon, that's another story. And this is where the story gets really interesting. Throughout the second half of the story, we watch as the Queen of Equestria is constantly struggling between her past and current life, trying to find her identity, but realizes she's trapped between both worlds. And I love the inner turmoil as she tries to please the children of Nightmare, acting the visage of the cruel and powerful Nightmare Moon, yet at the same time wanting to stabilize Equestria and not kill or hurt any pony, despite Nexus's constant pushing. She doesn't particularly want to be evil, but is rather forced into this role not to disappoint her followers from their overwhelming devotion. And on the other side of the coin, if she brings back Luna and Celestia, she could potentially be banished to the moon for another 1,000 years. So you have this great dilemma where either way, Nightmare Moon is damned, making the story just so appealing. And finally, what I loved about the ending is that the author gave a clever out from Nyx being banished, as she's instead turned back into a filly. But even more powerful is the fact that she is left with all of her memories as the Queen of the Night, which I think is a great conclusion. She gets to lead a normal life, yet is haunted and humbled by the horrible mistakes of the past, as a reminder not to step out of line. And I like that the author didn't pull any punches either, with some cop-out ending of just forget the whole thing ever happened and we'll just all water under the bridge. So that was Past Sins. It's got its fair share of problems, some of them major, but honestly, I will say overall, I enjoyed it. If you can stomach Nyx in the early chapters, then you'll find an interesting story with a lot of great character interactions and even some decent action scenes. I recommend you at least check it out once and discover a good Return of Nightmare Moon story. Well, that's it for today, guys. Until next time, MC out!